I know what you guys are thinking, that I have come back like a bad penny. Sorry about that. I was co-opted to do this, not volunteering. So just want to say, actually, as Taran said, Worldwide Experience has been supporting us, I think, over a decade now in our volunteer program, which we started way back in 2002. So basically, at the beginning, I'm just giving you this concept of what voluntourism is. Actually, at the time, in 2002, it was still known as volunteering, which led to a little bit of confusion in many levels, including even at the immigration level, because volunteering was considered where a person went and worked free, gave off your services free, and basically that was it. But and then for that, it was a different category. Like if you went to any other developing country and said you were going to volunteer, let's say for Red Cross or Oxfam, any of those major NGOs or INGOs, even local NGOs, you had to get a work permit because that was the category you fell into. Even though you were not paid, you were an unpaid volunteer. So you were volunteering your time and your expertise. So anyway, this is sort of, eventually it was turned voluntourism to, get rid of the confusion. And so basically, this is sort of putting it in a nutshell, what the whole idea is behind this. So these are more like the overall impacts of voluntourism at the ground level, right? So the most notable being that you are having this direct, immediate connection and a source of revenue and support to a project, a community, or a program in a host country. So it's not being channeled through like various other components, like staying at a hotel or like if you would go on a holiday. And by the way, this picture is historic. This is Devi, and this is Wendy, and this is from 2003, when the IEF was in Sri Lanka. And of course, when they visited our projects. So the need for a voluntourism program was felt very early on when SLWC was we founded, and we got a lot involved in community-based conservation initiatives, especially our human-elephant conflict efforts, mitigation efforts. So as you know, grants are critical. I mean, grants are still the foundation to develop, to initiate, establish projects. But it's the long term, and especially in community-based, approaches to any kind of, wildlife conflict situations, you have to take, because you are addressing both sides of the issue here, the wildlife as well as the people. And generally people, what we have learned is you can't go and, or you hear someone's house was damaged by an elephant, or the crops are eaten by elephants, or their cattle were killed by a leopard. Just to go and get their information and come, maybe once, they don't mind. They'll be happy to give you all that. But if this was a case of a repeated, incident of, attack by elephants or a carnivore, you can't keep on going back, because those people finally, they find it annoying, because they are, from their side, they have this idea that you would give them some help, you would help them in their situation. And this is something we learned very, very early on. And then, as you know, grants do not have the avenue for that. They don't have that, allowance to support that kind of work. So you get a grant for a fence, but for fence maintenance, you're not going to get. Or if elephant comes, still breaks the fence, comes and attacks the house, there is no money in the grant to address those issues. So that's where the volunteer program comes into play. Sustainability. It's basically that's what it's doing. It's making everything what we are doing sustainable. Now, just to show you, now, when things like this happen, we are always there. Now, this fence actually is the first community electric fence in Sri Lanka, which was erected, which was constructed in 1998. So you can imagine it's over 2 decades old now. The organization that funded this is no more, the Wildlife Trust. But what they funded is still continuing, and this continuation is due to our volunteer program. And then when people are killed, we also help them with their funeral expenses and stuff by giving them an allocation. So for us, we established the volunteer program in 2002, and there were several objectives we wanted to fulfill. After the first one was to create a revenue source for the organization to support our ongoing operations and our projects. And then, of course, to get more, create a citizen science program. I mean, it's good for people to come and get this exposure, and because once they have that experience, they go changed. To do, knowing, understanding of what are the issues at a real personal level, not just reading about it or hearing about it in the news. So it's that organic experience of being and going to an area where you see the environmental issues, the conservation challenges, the human-wildlife issues. And then, of course, we wanted to do, achieve all these other things, which I think we have to a great extent now in the area that we work, in the central province, in Vasgamon. So one of the outcomes of the volunteer program was the Field Scouts program, because we thought, okay, we also need to make this beneficial to the local people. How do we do that? So we thought, we'll start this Field Scouts program, the idea being we'll recruit local youth and train them to be the field assistants. They will be the field assistants who will be assisting other research scientists and conservationists in the field. So they were trained. Initially we recruited 7 of them, and they were given all the necessary training, and including field help, first aid and all that, and then the technical side of it, how to install cameras, how to go and do community surveys, like whenever there were human-elephant conflict incidences, they would go. So we had 7 of them, 3 girls and 4 boys. And then over the period of this time, we have now employed over 30 of these local youth. And I'm proud to say that, or we are proud that many of them have gone on using the training they received from us to become school teachers, inspectors, station masters, work for the wildlife department. So it's really nice to see our old field scouts, how the alumni are doing well. So we started in 2002, so this was the field house at the time. And this is how it looks now. So, this was our first 2 volunteers. We had only 2 volunteers in 2002. And then, of course, last year we had 367 volunteers. And this year we were going to surpass that, but unfortunately in April, as you know, on Easter Sunday, we had an unfortunate incident. And that sort of, put a blanket on that. So this is all the experiences. This is a huge, like 70 school students who came from England, and then they built this classroom for the local school. So, since its inception now, of course, employment, this is not the field scouts. This is people who work directly for the organization, like cooks, as drivers, mechanics, other service providers and all that, who work directly, employed to do various other work. And also we have, it's very interesting, there's an entire local economy that has got started because of the volunteers. And its impacts can be seen very clearly, especially when we look at the time span of this. So this was the first Earthwatch program we hosted, and we have another IEF senior member here, Linda Reifschneider. So this clearly shows how much of an impact our volunteer program has, basically on all aspects of our programs, projects. So it supports all our research, of course all our community-based conservation work, and then our biodiversity conservation work. So I sort of broken them down to their main components, categories. And of the community work we do, one of the biggest and the most impactful initiatives that we started was in 2016, which was our Ellie-friendly bus. This bus provides free transportation to school children who live deep in the forest reserve and used to walk nearly 12 kilometers to school and back every day. So this bus picks them up every day early in the morning and takes them to school and then brings them back home. And it's a free service that is provided. And so this bus we acquired this bus, and of course we got the support of the International Elephant Foundation as well as Asian Elephant Support to this initiative. So basically this creates a very positive feedback. For everyone actually. So for grant makers, they give us a grant, we start a project, and then the volunteers kicks in because the project provides us the foundation to create a program where anybody can come and participate in the work, whether it's research, whether it's community work, whether it's creating a butterfly sanctuary, it doesn't matter, right? So that's all possible because of the grant makers. They give us the money and then we set this up. And that, attracts volunteers who see these things and they want to get involved. So then that creates this, sort of a dual system of, because that helps us to do programs, and then the programs, of course, also helps us to achieve our goals and objectives and, become a better organization. And then also it goes around and, provides the volunteers with the experience and the life-changing, situations, that change their attitudes, getting these really holistic experiences. And then it also feeds back to the grant makers because they have projects that are now continuing beyond what the project's lifetime was. Initially when we give a project grant and you give a project deadline, right? You start it finishes at this point. But this, it just extends that lifetime indefinitely. So it's great because anytime the grant maker also can use this to highlight what we are doing and how it is being sustained and it's continuing to provide benefits to people, wildlife, the environment. So this is the video. I just want to show you a very short clip.
It was actually like one sentence on their biography of what they do here, and they said, at no point will you touch an elephant. You were working with purely wild elephants. There's no human contact with them, and I was like, that's the one.
It just seemed like the best opportunity to work with elephants in the way that they should be worked with, which is you're not interrupting their lives, you're just seeing how their lives actually work.
I've never been to Asia before, so to experience that culture and to be able to work with the elephants like this, it's pretty amazing.
This volunteer program is very, very important for SLWCs because they bring additional manpower for our research work here. That helps us to continue our research work on human and elephant conflict. When you stay with us, or I would say when you live with us, you are part of our family.
we do kind of research-related activities.
A few different transects we do. We've got a foraging transect, a dung transect, and trail mapping.
We do a lot of sand trapping, camera trapping, conflict surveys.
We come to their villages, we talk to the people, we sit down, we'll have tea with them, and they're so kind in offering up fruits and everything that they have.
A lot of the times they'll say, like, oh, the elephants were here last night, and you can see where they ruined their entire crop. Sometimes their houses get badly damaged.
I mean, what I hope we can help towards raising awareness of the conflicts at these people's farms.
At 3:30 we go to observe elephants every afternoon.
The observations, they are special.
When we are observing, we are very quiet. So you know that they're not acting out of character, they're acting how they would if you weren't there. Just to see that is just better than any elephant ride.
It's an out of this world experience. Like, you're there at the lake and it's beautiful, the sun's setting and there's just herds of elephants coming out around you grazing. You're a bit like, wow, no one I know back home is ever going to see this.
I think this experience is just amazing because we have another view of time. Everything seems so quick in our life back in France, and here it's amazing.
That's basically a little window into what our volunteers experience. There's many more activities than that, but this is it. So that's it. Thank you.